quite a big piece. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel, CCUK Resin. And I've just dropped my girls off, it's Sunday, and I've had a couple of deliveries, which means I can move on with my next project. What we're going to do in this project is make hopefully one of the most spectacular resin and wood clocks that you've ever seen. And I've been prepping for this one for a few months with my biggest ever drip mold. So we're going to get straight to it. We're going to make this clock and it's going to happen. And it's not just going to be a standard clock. There's going to be a few different features on this clock. So if that's what you're interested in, let's get straight to it. So the first thing we're going to do, and I hope you like my wood burnt custom table, is see what we've ordered from Amazon. And always make sure you've got a coffee at this point. So I'm hoping that this is what I think it is. Otherwise we're going to have a problem. So it's just a standard long, and it has to be the long one for this. And I'm not sure if that is going to work or not yet, but a long movement clock. Simple as. And you don't even get a battery with these guys, which is a little bit disappointing. But it comes with different hands, so we should be okay with the different hands for this piece. But remember how I said I don't just want a standard clock. I've only gone and ordered one of these as well, which we're going to try and fit in the same piece. Hopefully it's not too thick. That should work, I think, looking at the depth of that. And this is a USB powered one. So I think what I'm going to have to do is get myself. That's pretty cool. That's the size, that's the thickness. So a little bit thicker than what I was thinking, but it should still work. And it also lets off a light at the bottom. So I'm going to try and incorporate that into the piece as well. But what I think I'm going to need to do is get a longer USB lead to have this where I want in the house. So that is that. And obviously this is just part of what I'm going to need. So that is the USB plug. And it might be long enough actually, hopefully. And it comes with a little remote. And I don't know what these pins are for, but they're probably pretty important, so I best leave them in the box for now. So that's those. Now, that's not the fun part. The fun part is going to be my biggest ever drip mold. And it's actually a cement slab mold. And I don't know if it's going to demold or not, because I haven't used it before. Now, I did put silicone release spray in, and basically every time I've had a few drips of resin left over the last few months, I've just poured it in this pot. So we're going to see what happens. That sounds promising. That bit, not so much. So I'm just going to try and tease it a little bit. And we're going to see if we can get this out of the mold. It's not looking promising at the minute. And this was my worry. I'm just going around, again, trying to tease it out, and that ain't going to work. So, if all else fails, I'm just going to bang. And it seems to demold it from there. Bit of gentle persuasion hopefully will work. Ooh, that sounds promising. I don't want to break the mold in case it turns out really cool and I want to use it again. And now the old drop technique. Wow. Look at that. I'll tell you what, that's actually come out better than I thought it would. Let me zoom you out. It's quite a big piece, but I love that. All those different colours of resin shining through. And then the plan is, hopefully, just having a look at the thickness. I've still got a little bit to play with on this. So hopefully what I can do is get this clock mounted in the center like that. So that comes through there. And we can have the clock hands on this. This can be one of the clock faces. And then the plan is to have this somewhere else. Maybe towards the side, I'm thinking. And they both stick out a little bit at the minute, but that's okay. And then I want something else here. So it's going to be quite a big clock. I've got to be careful how I say that. But let me know what you think to this. And that was just the biggest ever drip mold I've ever used. Just shows you, try different molds. This was meant to be for concrete outside, but I just love the look of it. Let me know what you think. Beautiful. So I'm going to go try and find some wood now so we can incorporate that into this.
And now it's time to hopefully create that logo. So I printed out my logo, enlarged it, and I've just got an A4 silicone mold here. And I'm going to UV resin it with some white metallic pearlescent pigment paste, and UV resin is the plan. So you'll see in a minute. I've done this a few times, mainly with black. It's the first time I've done it with metallic white. So we're going to see if it works. But before we get to it, guys, do me a favor. Like and subscribe to the channel. It costs you nothing and it helps us grow. But if you do want to join membership, it would be appreciated as well. So I'm just going to mix up the resin, pour it in this pot, mix it together, pour it in this, draw the design in, and then we're going to fill it in. So I'm going to speed this process up for you so you haven't got to spend the next hour probably watching me do this. But it turns out really cool. I'm really happy with the way that it worked out, and I hope you like it.
So here we are, guys. I'm really excited about this part. This is where it's either going to go right or it's going to go wrong. And I'm going to be using a Fast-Cure resin, which means I've not got much time. So I'm going to be using the Fast-Cure from Apex. And I think I'm going to need about 600 ml for this because it's a big old piece. So I'm just going to mix it up first. I've got all of my colours that I think I'm going to want ready. At the side, I've got some lollipop sticks ready to mix them with. And I'm just going to go, I think, for the full 600 ml. So that we'll get 300 ml in the colours, roughly, and 300 ml of clear to go over it first. But it's going to be interesting. I'm going to speed up the mixing process so you haven't got to sit here watching it. And then we're going to mix up all of these colours. And I'm going to try and get a similar effect to my logo. I'm not expecting the same, but something similar I'll be happy with. And I've picked out all these colours, mainly using pigment paste. I'm not using any mica powders in this, any chameleons, any metallics or anything like that. This is purely going to be pigment paste with the exception of the white. And there's a couple of transparent ones in here as well. And as you can see, I've got about an inch either side of this because I'm doing this on my coffee table. And that's it, space-wise, because it's going to be quite a big piece. So I'm just praying it doesn't go wrong at this point. There we go. And I want to get it all out so that I've got the mix perfect. And this is the bit that takes a little bit of time, just getting those last drops of resin out of the bottle so that your consistency is what it should be, which is 300 ml of each. So here we go. Now, obviously it is a fast cure, so I'm going to move whatever I can move out the way. I'm going to move out the way because I've not got a lot of space and this is a big pour. Probably one of the biggest I've attempted of this kind of pour. And here we go. I'm going to mix it by hand because as long as you mix it around for a couple of minutes, we're all good. And then the plan is, once it's mixed, I'm going to split this roughly halfway. So we're going to get half of it in for the colours and half of it as a clear before we pour. And I'm just hoping that this goes right because it could very easily go wrong. And all of the work we've put in up to this point could be a waste. And the other reason I'm using the Fast-Cure is I want to use this as a coffee table again tomorrow. So by doing this, the Fast-Cure should only take around about 2.5 to 3 hours to fully cure. And again, make sure that you're scraping all your sides and your bottom. And again, I'm just doing this by hand to show you that you don't need a fancy mixer if you don't want to use one. Yes, it would have been easier for this if I'm being honest, but I decided to do it by hand. Here we go. Pretty confident that this is already mixed. And then what I want to do, because this is such a lot, this is like 600 resin, guys, and it's a fast cure, I want to split it pretty much straight away into these separate cups so that hopefully it avoids getting a flash cure. And wish me luck, because this is a lot of work if it all goes wrong. And I'm just praying it doesn't at this point. Again, just mixing it around, making sure I'm mixing those sides and the base. And I'm pretty confident that this is now pretty much mixed. I'm just looking through. We've got a few bubbles in there, but don't forget with this fast cure resin, you always will have a few bubbles. I'd never put it through a debubbler because if anything, you get a lot more bubbles. But the good thing is all dissolve in your finished piece. So again, just going to give it one more minute and then we're going to get pouring. We're going to mix up some colours and I'm going to try and emulate the colours that I've got. And all I've done with this is I've literally, as you saw, given it 2 coats of that plain black paint. And I actually really like the look of it already, just in the black. So hopefully these colours are just going to add to it. Now, because I'm going to be spreading the clear all over, that's what I'm doing. So I'm just going to pour about 1 ounce into each of these. And I've got 10 cups ready. And hopefully these are going to be the colours that are going to really make this pop. Again, I was toying with the fact, should I have done this in white rather than black? But I went with black just because it felt like the right thing to do. And I don't know, is this going to work? It's either going to be amazing or it's going to be a mess. One of the two, guys. But I'm conscious now, the clock is ticking. I've got literally 20 minutes working time for this to work. And that is it. Right, so that is these. And then whilst I'm mixing my colours, I might as well spread the rest of the clear all the way around the piece so that keep oozing, spreading and self-leveling, hopefully. and let me know. Do you think I've bitten off a bit more than I can chew this time? Or do you think it is going to work? I don't know if I've got enough resin there to cover it, but we will find out. Don't always scrape your cups. There's a lot of resin that gets wasted if you don't do this, guys. Also makes your cups a little bit easier to clean out afterwards. And don't forget, I am going to be putting more resin on this. So I'm not overly concerned if it doesn't fully cover the whole piece. Now this is where it's going to get messy. So I'm going to just leave that on the side and use my finger just to spread it around. Hopefully, giving us a thin, even coat, hopefully. I don't mind it going over the sides a little bit, all the way around. And then it will just give it a chance to hopefully self-level a little bit before I add these colours. And I'm hoping I've done enough. Again, going all the way around these edges on the inside and the outside, because I don't mind a bit of drip off. I actually think it will help in this case. Again, just making sure everywhere's got this thin layer. And you can see it's moving around on these pots. I think we'll be okay. When I start adding the other resins, it's really going to add to the thickness anyway. But I just want something to help it glide, hopefully. Here we go. I'm going over this edge as well. And this is where it's going to get messy. But I'm doing this before I start mixing the colours, just to hopefully give it that little bit of a base to glide off. And I've already wasted about 4 or 5 minutes, and I am going to get a fresh pair of gloves in a second because these are going to have resin all over them. But I do want to make sure I've hopefully got that thin base going all the way around the edge. Here we go. And the last thing I want is any fish eyes, but there's only so much you can do to prevent them. Again, just mixing it all the way around, hoping that we get a reasonably even coat. There we go. Happy with that, I think, for the first bit. And then we're going to add, obviously, a lot more resin in these colours. Beautiful. So, easiest thing to do is just swap your gloves when you're doing something as messy as this. So I'm going to put inside out. There we go. No mess. And then get a fresh pair on. And before we go any further, just want to give it a quick torch to get rid of any bubbles. I've got my heat gun at the side as well, but this is more just to get rid of some bubbles that might be on that surface. Again, keeping the resin a little bit warm. And I can see areas where it's not completely covered it. At this point, I'm not concerned. So I'm going to start off with the darker colours and the darker base, and then I think build into the lighter colours. Right, fresh gloves on. And I'm going to do purpley blues, I think, on this side. And I've got 2 different purples and a blue. So, as well, and I think we're about there. Here we go. And I'm going to have to rush this. So this is a metallic purple I've got. Is it? No, that's my metallic blue. Again, mixing around on my stick. Whatever's left on my stick should be enough to colour that resin. Move that out the way. This is the purple, which is a metallic-y purple. Again, just mixing the paste around in the pot, and whatever is left on this stick, hopefully, will be enough to colour that resin. Give me that one. And I'm not sure if I'm going to do another layer after this with different alcohol inks or not. And this is my favourite purple, which is Blackberry from Creating Blue. And again, just mix it around, put it in. So that's those darker colours. And I'm hoping that there's enough there to cover this, at least down to about there, because I'm going to try and simulate the colours that I've naturally got in my logo. And I don't know, because I want the logo piece to be around there. So actually, I want the purple to be one of the main colours on this side. So here we go, first pour, on we go. And I think I'm happy with that. And then I'm just going to mix it around and then bring it around here. I do want this purple to be spreading nicely. It's actually really nice, this metallic purple. And there's no point leaving any of it in the cup. That will be my purple. Beautiful. Now I want the other purple. And the purples, for me, I want them sort of in the corners, but mainly coming into the blue. Then I want the turquoise to come all the way through, which I've not mixed yet. So again, just going to mix the blackberry and then drizzle it. No particular order at this point, all the way around. So we've got these 2 different colours, and this is all going to start dripping on the rest of those colours in a minute if I'm not careful. Don't mind it over here. There we go. So there's those purples, pretty much. I think they'll intermix nicely, so that can go over there. Now I need the blue, and this is a beautiful metallic blue, guys. Again, I'm just going to very loosely just mix this around the edge. Trying to move everything out the way as well, because as much as I don't mind getting in a bit of a mess, it'd be nice to not have a huge tidy up after. So this is that beautiful blue. Again, just going around. I can move it all around, intermix it a bit more as well in a minute with that heat gun. But I don't want too much running off at this point. There we go. So that is the blue. Turquoise is going to be my next real colour. So again, I'm going to get some of that and one of these sticks, which is Kingfisher from Creating Blue. And again, whatever's left on my stick should do. Now, I want this to be one of the prominent colours, because in my logo, it is. And that's what I'm trying to simulate a little bit. So also conscious that this will be heating up as well. So this is that beautiful turquoise. And I'm going to bring it all the way around here, I think, and then up through here. And I do want this to stand out pretty nicely like that. And that's the turquoise or the Kingfisher. We're getting there, guys. Now, off here, I want the zinnia. So I want the pinks first. And I'm going to be using zinnia for my pink. Beautiful, vibrant pink, this zinnia. So again, I'm just going to move this tool out the way and then going just naturally around there. Not too much pink because I'm not a huge fan of pink, but I think it'll be nice. That's the zinnia. Now I want to start with sort of yellows, and I've got two different yellows here. So I've got butterfly fish, and I'm just going to torch these bubbles off. Again, just making sure I'm torching as I go, and it's keeping the resin a little bit warm. So this is the honeycomb, which again is a beautiful color. And I'm just watching the edge to make sure it's not dripping off of this plastic sheet onto my floor. That's how limited I am in space. And this is cardinal fish, which is a little bit of a transparent, but I thought I wanted to try it. And now I've got it dripping on most sticks. So I need to get a fresh one. Oh, the joys of having no room. So this is cardinal fish. I'm going to put that in there and that can get moved out of the way. I might as well mix up the other colours as well now, which is cardinal for the red. But even without moving anything, it's already looking stunning. Just this resin intermixing in its own little way. Move that one out of the way. So the only one I haven't done now, I think, is the bee's nest and the white. Where have I put the sticks? The clean ones. Oh, this is fun already. Chaos and resin, guys. Who would have thought it on this channel? So the bee's nest is more of an orange. That can just go in there. And then I've just got resin on that as well. Now I am just, as I say, being conscious of these drips, and I've just spotted one that was about to go off the table. So I am going to try and move it and prevent it from dripping onto my floor. Here we go. And that's where it's dripping off. So I'm going to leave that there. Hopefully that will collect it. So where was I? Right, we've got that. I think the first one I want is the reds. So let's get this cardinal in, which is more of a transparent colour. So here we go with the cardinal. Just going to bring a bit over there. And then over here, like this. Intermix it a little bit, and beautiful. Now these are semi-transparent, well, they are transparent colours. So I'm not sure if this will work as well as I'd hoped, but I think it will. All right, and then I want the orange. And this is messy resin, guys. There's no getting around it. Oh, we're getting a drip. It's what happens when you don't have a lot of space to play with. But again, if I can avoid ruining my floor, I want to do that. So here comes the orange. Just a touch going through there as well. And now with this yellow, I've also got a transparent, which is the cardinal fish. Do not do this at home, guys, would be my advice. So I want a thin line, hopefully, going from here all the way through here. And even a little bit just going off to the sides like this. Beautiful. And I'm loving the way this is looking already. And then we've got this honeycomb, which is more of an opaque colour. And we're not done yet. Don't worry about that. There we go. And a little bit along here. Beautiful. So we're not perfect, but I think it emulates those colours I've got. So now what I'm going to do is just check that I've got non-dripping on my floor, which I haven't yet, which is a miracle in itself, guys. Just going to go around the edge of the whole piece with a white. And although I like the way it's looking now, it's not exactly what I wanted. So this is where, again, I just want to heat up that resin a little bit. So I'm going to use a heat gun. Pop any of these bubbles, first of all. And then we're going to have some real fun, hopefully. And I'm going to try something, again, I've not done before. which is basically, got a spatula at the side of me, and I just want to play with different swirls. So I've just heated it all up, and I'm loving the colours. So far, so good. Torching it, getting rid of any bubbles. And again, it's just keeping that resin a little bit warm to mix it all through. And now I've got a little tiny spatula at the side of me. Again, just checking that there's no drips running down onto the floor, which there's not. And I just want to play with these a little bit. Just intermix them a little bit without it all dripping off, hopefully. But I just encouraging them to just mix in together like this. And I think it should create a fun little pattern. Look at this, beautiful. I'm just going to wavy it through. Again, it's hopefully spreading the resin around a little bit as well to make sure we get somewhat of an even coverage. This is pushing the boundaries though of my space 1,000,000%. And I want it to be sort of a wavy pattern like this. I'm just pulling that spatula through all these colors. Again, hopefully intermixing them a little bit. And I might still add a few more in a second, but I just want to make sure that I'm getting that inconsistency going through. Look at this. Absolutely beautiful. And this is just the resin doing the work. And again, I'm just playing. That's all this is. Playing with the resin and seeing what happens. Now, I quite like some of this yellow to stay the same. So I'm going to leave a couple of bits that are quite bold like that. And then here, just going to bring them all through again like this. And I do quite like those bold stripes, but I don't know if it will all go in the end. So let's carry on. I'm looking forward to hopefully peeling off the remainder of the resin as well off this sheet tomorrow, and hopefully reusing it in some jewellery or something like that. Now I'm just going to check around the edge. I've not got any major pooling yet. And now I'm just going to, again, use my finger, going around these edges, making sure that they're covered. I want this resin to be going all the way over the edge. Again, just use my finger, and hopefully it'll all level out. But this is just fun. There's no getting around this. This is me having quite a bit of fun, actually. Just playing with the resin and seeing what it does by itself. And then the question will be is, have I done this a little bit too thick so the clock doesn't fit in? It has crossed my mind, guys, if you're asking that question. Now I'm just going to go around the edge. Again, making sure that hopefully it's going all the way around the edge. And I'm going to be putting another layer on this. There we go. But I am loving this. Just going around that edge. And then what I might do is, there's a couple of places to me where it doesn't look quite right. So I'm just going to do this with my finger. And again, just bringing those colours out a little bit more, intermixing them a tiny bit, and then we'll see what it does. It will literally level itself out, hopefully, and we'll get, hopefully, some cool effects. No guarantees with resin, as we all know. What do you think? In fact, I want a little bit more of this turquoise if I've got any left in this pot, just because that is a main feature on my logo. I'm just going to, again, I don't like to waste any. So again, I'm just going to use this and drizzle it through. So there's elements of that turquoise going through the whole piece. And then just down there, it's a bit too pink for me. So I'm going to get a little bit of blue and just do this. What's the worst that can happen at this point? I think it's looking great. Let me know what you think in comments. A bit more of the purple as well. And as I say, this is never going to look exactly like my logo. That wasn't my intention. My intention was just to have fun intermixing these colours and simulating a little bit those colours in my logo and creating a great piece of art, which so far, I hope you'll agree, we're pretty much doing. There. I'm just going to drizzle that through there as well. And a little bit here. Oh, I've just spotted my first drip on the floor. Knew it was going to happen. So I've got alcohol by the side of me. And a little bit more of this bright yellow, just to highlight these flames. There we go. And then I've still got one more thing that I am going to do. First thing I want to do though is wipe up this resin. You don't want resin on your laminate floor. No thank you. Right, so that's looking pretty cool. Now there's a couple of bits where these spots to me, I can almost tell that they're going to fisheye because there's not enough resin. Just pull in a bit more on. So that's all it is. When your resin starts to look like it's going to fisheye, it's normally that there's not enough on the board. So again, just going to go over this edge just to encourage it to drizzle around. And now I'm just looking around anywhere else that I think might need a touch of that. And I think this edge here a little bit. So again, I'm just going to dip my fingers in the resin And I'm going to go around the side, and I'm going to deglove as well in a minute. And it's because the wood's also absorbing the resin, even though it's got those 2 coats of the black. The sides are a lot thirstier than the top, which I suppose means that we're getting a bit of a fisheye effect, which I don't want. But I also want to keep some of those cells in there, because to me they look great. Loving that. So now I'm just going to go around the base, underneath, trying to encourage any of those big drips that might be there off, whilst also trying not to get it on my laminate floor. I just want one more drip of that, I think, in there. Now, I don't want to play too much with it because I'm actually really liking the way that this is looking right now. But I do want to give it a bit of a tweak around these edges and make sure that I'm happy with the overall look. Now, don't forget the clock's going to be going in here. So it shouldn't matter too much. But again, I just want to try and avoid any of those fish eyes if I can. And then we are going to do one more thing in a minute. But I just want to put a little drip of this through here and see what happens. I don't want anywhere to look like it's not natural. So I'm pretty happy with that, I think, at this point. Pretty even coverage, and it's going to have a clear coat anyway afterwards. So I'm going to take these off because they're very sticky and covered resin. And then I'm just going to torch everything again and look for any spots. You don't want to burn your resin either, guys. So is it my logo? You might ask. No. Is it beautiful? I would say yes. I'm loving it. And the problem is, at this point, I'm tempted to carry on. But I think if I do, I could ruin what I've got. But I have still got 1 pot of resin left, which I don't know if you spotted that I haven't poured yet. And that was deliberate, because I want to get some white in it as well. And I'm just going to use a resin dye for this, because I don't want it to be too overpowering. But I do want a little bit of white going through as well. Right, let's get a stick. And I'm conscious as well that the resin is firming up now. So I don't want too much white, and that's why I'm using a transparent dye. But I do want drizzles of it just going through. Adding a bit of lightness, I think, if we'll even see it. I think we will. I think we'll get faint, wispy white lines. And again, this is just adding a tiny bit of resin where it's needed as well, I think. But at the minute, so far, I think this piece is going to really come together when I put that lettering on as well. Let me know what you think. And one thing's for sure, nobody else in the world will have a clock quite like this one. I don't want to play with it anymore. I think it's looking good. So I am going to try and tidy around. Now I'm just wondering if I should intermix any more of the other colours. I don't think so. Maybe I could add a bit more of the pink. Maybe a touch more of the orange, just to bring it together again. But I'm also conscious now that it will be completely curing, and I don't want to ruin what's already there. And I think that's the risk at this point. Maybe a little drizzle just through there like that, and just one more splash along here. What do you think, guys? And I wish I could claim credit for this, but honestly, it is mainly the resin that has created this, not me. I've created the mess, and I'm just going to go around again, making sure that any bits that look like they're going to drip off this sheet, I get off with a wipe. And again, just going to go around the edge again, hopefully preventing too many big drips. And I've just kicked my pigment paste over. We're okay. Luckily the lid's wrong. I just want to get some of this. Just make sure that edge is covered. Looks a little bit dry, this edge in particular. And again, it is all going to get a clear coat afterwards when I put those letters on as well. But I'm pretty happy with the way that this looks right now. And I think anything else I do to it now could risk ruining it, which I don't want to do. So I'm going to leave it. I'm going to let it fully cure, and we're going to see what it looks like. But this is not the way to do resin art, guys. Should be a lot more cautious, because so it's quite, even for me, this is very adventurous, the way that I've tried to do this in my living room when I know I've not got a lot of space. And those of you that follow the channel know I'm usually a little bit crazy when it comes to my resin art. But there we go. Don't want to do anything else to it apart from give it one more torch. And then whatever, ooh, hello. Apart from just over here where I can spot a few fish eyes. So again, I've got the resin, and it won't take a lot to just pull some through, hopefully fixing those. But again, this is not a tutorial on how to work with resin. This is not the safest way to work with resin at all. It's just the only way I could do in my small space. I always recommend having your respirator on, which I could have done, to be fair, I was just too lazy, and just be careful. So again, I've got all this resin here and I've not got a lot on these sides, so I might as well just spread it around a bit before it fully sets. But I'm loving the way that this looks. Just those colours, I think, have worked really well together. Just looking for any more bits that need a touch more resin. And don't get me wrong, resin art doesn't get much messier than this. Let's be honest. But hopefully the results will be worth it in the end. There we go. And I think that's it. I don't want to do anything else. Just going to leave it. Come back every 5 minutes now and just torch, ensuring that any bubbles are gone. And maybe a drop there. If I can spot a fisheye, then I'll try and cover it. But it is going to get a clear coat afterwards anyway. And it'd be really interesting to see what everything dries like underneath as well. I think we're going to get some really cool colours actually. In fact, I'm going to give it one more little bit. Just got so much resin. And I don't like to waste it. Come on. And then that's it. I really don't want to play with it anymore. Probably added nothing, but I'm happy with the piece now. That to me is kind of the look I was going for. So we're going to let it cure. And I'm going to try and tidy up without ruining it. So here we go, guys. It's been about 2 hours. Now it's not fully cured, but it's cured enough that it's not sticky anymore. So now the fun part, trying to position this where I want it without ruining it. So I'm going to do it one letter at a time, I think. And I'm going to start with the lower letters and just peel them off. They should come off. And these are still a little bit tacky themselves. So what I'm going to do is just use some pliers and gently position them where I want. Trying to keep the spacing as close as I can to what it is. I'm trying to keep them reasonably straight, hopefully. So between that, and I didn't want to do that, guys. Yeah. So it's definitely sticking, but I need to get that off there now. Which is not the easiest when you've got gloves on. But I need this E. Come on. Off you come. There we go, it's off. But this is the consistency where we are now. Again, it's just about trying to get it as close as I can. And this way it should actually stick it to that resin before I go over it with the top layer. There we go, I'm pretty happy with that. Now I'm just going to mix up some resin, put a clear layer over everything, and we should have our sign. Now, hopefully I won't need as thick a layer this time in order to put it on. So I'm going to do about 300 ml, I think, for the whole thing, and then it should be cured in the morning. Right, so here we go. And I've just mixed up 220 in the end, because this should only have to be a thin coat, really. Now I'm going to make sure it goes over these letters, and I'm just going to try and drizzle it evenly over the whole piece, especially if I can see anywhere where there's little fish eyes or anything like that. but this layer should go on a lot smoother anyway, just because of the fact we've already got that nice little layer of resin on there. So in fact, I'm gonna pour. It's gonna be easier. I'm just trying to get it as even as I can, especially over these letters, and then we can spread it all out. And then hopefully in the morning, it should be cured and we can fit the clocks. Again, just spreading it around as even as I can. And then I think I'm probably gonna end up using my finger again. This should just give it a beautiful shine and finish. So that is all of that resin. I'm just gonna move it around now, using a gloved hand, just to hopefully even it out everywhere and give us that beautiful shine all the way up to those edges, hopefully preventing any fish eyes, and just filling everything in, making sure it all gets that beautiful coat of this Fast-Cure resin. Again, especially around the letters, just making sure it's all covered. Beautiful. Go around the edge as well, and this should just give us an ultra glossy shiny coat to just finish everything off. And it should self-level, so you shouldn't have to panic too much about that. Just do want to make sure it goes all the way over the edge, so any excess can just drip off. Now a quick blowtorch, and I think that will be about it. Again, just making sure everywhere's got that thin layer all the way around, because if not, it will be pretty obvious in the finished piece. And there we go, we'll come back in the morning and hopefully that'll be perfectly cured. So after all that work, it's finally up, it's on the wall, it's looking pretty cool. And I don't think anybody else in the world has a clock quite like this. But yeah, I think it's looking great on the wall. Hopefully it's going to stand the test of time, and you'll see it on my lives every night on a Tuesday. But I hope you've enjoyed the creation, hope you've enjoyed the video. And I hope you enjoy the piece. I mean, just look at some of these details. Absolutely stunning. And I think when it gets darker, you'll actually see the light coming out the back as well. We've got a rainbow light coming out. But yeah, I think it came out really cool. Hope you do too.